The early Greek founders of Stoicism, thinkers like Zeno and Chrysippus, built a massive, intricate philosophical architecture. They focused heavily on rigorous logic and theoretical physics, designing an airtight system to map and explain the cosmos. But an airtight system of logic offers little protection against absolute autocracy. As the Roman Empire consolidated its power, those abstract theories fractured. The elite operators of Rome needed a survival mechanism, not a cosmology. Enter Seneca, an immensely wealthy statesman and political power broker, navigating the deadliest court in human history. Seneca spent years as the primary tutor and eventually chief advisor to the unstable Emperor Nero. In this tense environment, a single misplaced word or a sudden shift in the emperor's mood resulted in immediate execution. Under that extreme pressure, Seneca mutated the philosophy. He injected a gritty psychological realism, adapting Stoicism into a highly applied therapy for the mind. To survive the Neronian court, practitioners had to abandon abstract debates. They had to wage a constant, calculated war within their own minds to achieve total self-mastery. The orthodox Greek Stoics maintained a strict view on human emotion. They argued that passions, like blinding anger or paralyzing fear, only take hold if you grant them your rational assent. You have to consciously agree to the emotion. Seneca recognized a flaw in that rigid model. In his work on anger, he introduced a critical update to the doctrine, the pre-passion. Looking at this diagram of the human reflex, we can see Seneca's concept in action. When you hear a loud noise or face a sudden threat, your heart races, you flinch. This initial impulsive reaction is entirely biological. It is a reflex, completely devoid of moral weight. The actual philosophical battleground emerges a fraction of a second later. The goal is not to suppress the initial physical shock. The objective is actively withholding that rational assent, building a barrier that stops the raw biological pulse from festering into a destructive emotion. If that barrier fails, the results are catastrophic. Seneca illustrated this relentlessly in his tragedies, where characters who surrender to their passions trigger cascades of violence that consume everyone around them, ensuring their own ethical and cosmic destruction. By isolating the exact boundary between a biological flinch and a moral choice, Roman Stoics carved out a realistic, actionable space to defend their own minds. Knowing you should build a mental barrier does not automatically build it. If we know a passion is destructive, we have to locate the specific internal mechanism that actively hits the brakes. To answer this, Seneca introduced his most vital addition to the Stoic vocabulary, voluntas, the active intention or the will. As this visualization shows, there is a severe imbalance in simply possessing facts. Moral knowledge, what the Stoics called scientia, is inert on its own. You can memorize every ethical rule, but without the active desire to be good, the knowledge does nothing. Seneca stated clearly, willing is not learned. While humans possess a natural impulse toward virtue, the firm intention to act on it requires intense, conscious cultivation. The will must be deliberately ignited to pull our knowledge into action. His famous moral letters to Lucilius operate directly on this principle. They function as active therapeutic interventions, carefully engineered to train, test, and strengthen the reader's own voluntas. By isolating the will, Seneca forces the student out of the stance. The practitioner becomes an active combatant on the arena floor, taking direct, unflinching responsibility for forging their own moral character. This rigorous internal training eventually faces a terminal test. The Stoic must determine how a highly trained will responds when an absolute tyrant strips away every ounce of physical and political autonomy. In 65 AD, Nero ordered Seneca to commit suicide, the final exam of a Stoic's philosophy. Seneca had mapped this out in Letter 70. Contempt for one's body is the ultimate proof of freedom. You can always open the road to liberty with a lancet. In the strict terminology of the school, the physical body is an indifferent. It holds conditional value, but the moment it compromises your moral purpose, your core integrity, it becomes disposable. For a Roman Stoic operating under autocracy, the conscious, rational choice to sever one's own life secures a supreme tactical victory. It guarantees the tyrant can never conquer the mind. Seneca's legacy is the internalization of an entire worldview. He took Stoicism out of the public academies of Greece and secured it within the highly guarded, private mental life of the Roman citizen. He constructed a survival toolkit, diagnosed the biological pre-passion, strengthened the will to withhold assent, and maintained the absolute freedom to leave the stage. In a universe governed by unpredictable fate and violent rulers, Seneca proved that the only true, untouchable freedom is the absolute mastery of the self.